Let's talk some sports, baby.
Taken by Iguodala. Iguodala to Curry. Back to Iguodala. Up for the layup. Oh, blocked by Jones.
And remember, make tomorrow better than today, and make today better than yesterday. And you know what we gonna do. We gonna holler at you until next time, baby.
Welcome to A Drink of Wisdom with Jay Wise and Nathan Drinkard. I'm your host, Cody Ward. Thanks for spending some of your time with us tonight. As a reminder to all the listeners, besides being on all your favorite podcast platforms, A Drink of Wisdom is also on YouTube with each So segment available. Head on over. If you like what you hear, we would appreciate your subscription. What's going on, guys? Welcome back, Drink.
Yeah, absolutely. We got the beard in here, the wisdom's here, and it is a pleasure to have the drink back in the building. Let's go.
Yeah, I appreciate that, fellas. You know what I'm saying? I had to go on that quick personal hiatus, but now your boy back. So, you know what I'm saying? You know what time it is. Let's get into this sports talk, and let's talk some sports, baby.
I missed that. In episode 76, Fury and Joshua make an agreement. Dalvin Cook wants a new agreement, and we react to ESPN's wild NFL redrafting experiment. But first, trouble is brewing between the NBA and the players amidst the NBA's return news. Last week, we broke down the NBA's plan to return to action, centered around 22 teams competing in a quarantine zone in Orlando, Florida. That plan was made official last week with near unanimous support by the NBA owners and the NBA Players Association. However, this week, players have voiced concerns regarding the coronavirus, social justice movements, and details of the plan yet to be worked out. The NBA has not officially made it clear as to the rules of the bubble and if the employees will be forced to stay on campus with the players. There's additional concerns about teams that aren't contenders sitting out, economic ramifications of not returning to play, and exactly how the NBA will replace players that get sick or simply don't show up. So, Drink, it seems like the NBA is starting to hit some snags when it really looked to be smooth sailing last week. Do the players have legitimate concerns, or should they get back to playing?
Well, we have to understand. Yes, I understand these guys are millionaires. I understand that their concerns is probably, what we call first world, problems. I got all that. But at the end of the day, we can't put a value on someone else's health, someone else's opinion of what's going on in the world today in the United States. So we have to take that into account. With that said, I think the funny thing about this is this. If we was talking about MLB right now, like Jay said earlier, MLB let it be known that they was having problems with getting the players and the owners on the same page. Whereas in the NBA, we was under a great assumption that once this announcement was made, the deal was struck. The NBA Players Association, the NBA came together and said, boom, this works for everybody. Let's do this. And now all of a sudden, you got a select group where they say 40 to 50 players that's saying, wait. Hold up. I don't know how comfortable I feel about this. Hey, I've been locked up in my house for 3 or 4 months. Now you telling me I got to go down to Orlando and be locked there, depending on how well my season go for the next 2 or 3 months. I don't know how I feel about that. And then can you assure me that I'm not going to get sick again? I don't know. You're going to be allowing people to leave the bubble and then come back into the bubble. So I don't know. I might get in contact with that person, and then I might, get this COVID. I might have it right now and just don't know it. I don't know. So let me tell back a little bit. Then you got a select few players that's saying, hey, we have a situation brewing in our country right now, and I don't think it's fair that we sit here trying to take the light off what's going on in our country by playing sports. This is what I would say to that person. And when I say that person, I'm speaking primarily from what I heard through ESPN, Fox Sports 1. I'm talking about one Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving has been very vocal about the fact that he doesn't like that we're trying to rush sports back when we have social injustice going on right now in our country. He thinks that we're trying to use sports to cover up, the bad blood that the country has right now. Listen, Kyrie Irving, he's a very outspoken guy. He is entitled to his opinion. And he's not necessarily wrong, to be honest with you. we do have a lot of things going on in our country. But if I was talking to Kyrie Irving and he said that, I would tell him this. Kyrie, let's go and take this trip down memory lane. You know, so let's go ahead and take it down there. It was a time in the NBA where the NBA was very, very it was probably the third or fourth best sport in the United States, or the four major sports. And it was two guys that came to the sport at that time. One was Magic Johnson, the other one was Larry Bird. These two gentlemen, one being black, the other one being white, two different ends of the spectrum. And at that time, the NBA was it was racially divided. Like, you know, white people thought the NBA should be like this. Black people was just getting their groove in the NBA. It was very divided. These two gentlemen came in. They was playing off a rivalry that they had in college. They brought it to the NBA, and slowly but surely, they did save the NBA. But what you started seeing was it stopped being about black and white, and it turned into Boston versus Los Angeles. It turned into, you know, the role players versus the stars, the best versus the best. I think Kyrie needs to understand that, especially here in the United States, if it's one thing that could probably get us over this divide that we got right now, this disagreement, it's sports. Because at the end of the day, we have to look at it like this. Usually in sports, we're all cheering for a certain goal. We're all going for a certain thing. And like I was telling Jay, it's like being in the military, it taught me this. You guys are white. I'm black. We all still was wearing the same uniform. It wasn't, hey, the white guy in the green canvas, the black guy in the green. No, we was all Marines wearing the same uniform, meaning we all had the same goal. Mission accomplished, get it done by any means necessary, and then you out. Because of that, we never had the opportunity to sit here and say, well, that dude white and I'm black, so we're going to figure this goal out however we get there. Meet you at the top, buddy. Like, that was never like you know what I'm saying? That was never it. It's, hey, Jay, look, what you thinking about this? Oh, all right, Drink, I'm thinking about this. We can do this, we can accomplish this, and then we can do that. And that's what it is about, the goal. I think sports would get us back to that. One of the reasons that we're agitated or aggravated, and for everybody that's listening, let me say this right now. I am not trying to downplay the current situation that's going on in the United States right now. I am not. I'm not trying to say everyone deserves to have the opinion that they have. I'm just giving you my truth, why I feel about it. And what I think when a lot of males anyway, sitting at home, nothing else better to do. We stuck at home because of COVID-19. We can't do nothing but like look at each other and wonder, you know, some people out here don't even know where their next paycheck coming from, even if they're getting their next paycheck, you know. And then just when it seems that the COVID was starting to wear off a little bit and we was hearing less and less and less about it. Oh, by the way, the UFC is coming back. Oh, NASCAR is coming back. NBA finally struck a deal. NFL, college football seemed like, hey, they're going to start on time. Oh, and then, you know, soccer, Major League Soccer coming back. I mean, the only one that had a cloud hanging over was the MLB. But I do think at some point they figured that out. So now people starting to get some hope now. So now we went from talking about people dying from COVID-19 to talking about, oh, look, we might get some sports, folks. We might get some sports, right? And then what happened in Minnesota, rest in peace, George Floyd, happened. And it was a very hard transition to go from what we was dealing with COVID to going to seeing for black people to watch this guy die on TV when he was begging for his life, begging for his mother, doing all this stuff, and we had to watch that. So yes, it got people angry. I'm not saying nobody should not be angry about that. But now let's fast forward to now. I think what we need to look at now is we have a chance to kind of soften this up and come back together. And that is what we're doing right now. I don't want to sound insensitive to Kyrie's Irving plea here, but here's the deal. Kyrie, first of all, were you even ever coming to Orlando? Because last time I checked, you hurt. So as valid as your point is, we don't even know if you was coming. I'm pretty sure Brooklyn got a substitute player already penciled in for you. So you don't even have to come even if you want, even if you don't want to. You want to, go ahead, support your teammates, but if you don't, you don't. You're hurt. Listen, man, stop trying to kill the hope of the American people, because that's how I look at it. Sports is hope. Whether you believe it or not, sports is hope. And once the NBA decides to come back and play, once the NFL season starts, once college football starts, once MLB starts, do you know if everything starts on time, October, this will be the first time, in the month of October will be the first time that all 4 major sports and college football has played the meat of their season in the same month. The meat. Not like this sport starting and this one ending, but no crap, the meat of that season will be going on in the same month. That let me tell you something. This year probably going to be the most exciting sports experience anybody can have when you think about all those sports playing at one time. Like, people going to probably go out and buy more TVs because I just can't put everything on the same TV. And this is what we should be looking forward to, not looking what happened in the past. It's a lot of things in the past that need to be fixed. I'm the first to tell you. There's a lot of stuff that happened that need to be fixed. But can we look at the positive a little bit? Kyrie, can the NBA players come back and play, brother? Do we got to fight every time? I got you. I'm upset with this too. But I don't want to fight all the time. I just want to do something a little different. Can I get some NBA so I can talk some trash? Can I get a little of that? Can I get some NFL so I can talk some trash? Can Jay get some baseball so he can talk some trash? Can we do this? Like, I'm not telling you to forget what happened, but come on, man. No, that's as far as the injustice, the social injustice. Now, if we're talking about COVID-19, and I said this before we got on, I'm not mad at any player that feels like their health is at play if they go and play in Orlando. Listen, the NBA has been very, very clear. You don't have to play, but you will not get paid. And once you say you don't want to play, you're done for the season. You cannot say, hey, I don't want to play the first week, but I'm going to come back week 2. No, that ain't it. Once they give you a replacement off the two-way or wherever the replacement come from, you're done. So you don't get paid. That's your choice, though. Maybe your finances are that good, you want to go and sit at the house and be safe. I'm not mad at you. I cannot tell a person how to feel about their health. It's your health. Go do what you do. But if that's the case, go ahead and get out the way. And here's another thing. It's very evident that the players that got a problem with this, I just don't think it's superstar players. It's very hard for me to see that it's LeBron James, out here, stirring this up and saying he don't feel comfortable. We all know this. If LeBron James was saying this, his name would have been out. It would have been a first press. LeBron James don't want to play. I don't think it's Giannis. I don't think it's the likes of Kawhi. I don't think it's the Zion Williamson. I don't think it's the superstars. Me personally, I think it's like role players and guys that kind of, they're like, I don't get paid enough to get sick, so I want to go and preserve my health. Maybe it's those guys, because at the end of the day, think about this. They said if a player doesn't want to play, they can get a substitute. What the hell substitute would replace LeBron James? And are we kidding right now? Who would substitute for Giannis and be a quality substitute? You see what I'm saying? So that's why when I heard them say the substitute part, that let me know right there that we're talking about some low-level, role player type guys that's complaining. Because if you actually put it together, who the hell going to replace Kawhi Leonard? And then we just going to accept it like, oh, yeah, that's a good replacement for Kawhi Leonard. Like, Let's knock it off. So, with all that said, it is concerning. It's concerning that this came up after the announcement to resume the season. It's concerning, but I do feel if I had to put a percentage on it, I'm 80% sure that they will smooth this over. Adam Silver, very smart guy, he'll get this thing figured out. We will have the season start July 31st. July 30th. I'm sorry, I forgot. They bumped it up one day because they want to start the season early. Ain't that something? But we will get the season started on July 30th, and I think all will be well with the state of the NBA return.
Yeah, I'm not going to spit on all these concerns and just say they're all illegitimate, and especially the one I would offer to you is about certain employees being able to leave the bubble, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't seem right at all. If you're going to confine the players to that Orlando complex, then everyone involved should have to stay there as well. That's where I'm looking at from that perspective. As far as the health concerns with coronavirus, I mean, I get it. I think it's okay for players to have their concerns about that and be wondering about, hey, am I going to get sick? What does that look like? Well, we got to remember, the NBA has put together this resumption plan, and the number one thing they've been looking at is how to do it in a safe way with the players' health in mind. So I think the players have to remember that, and I think we as all the listeners got to keep that in mind. That's been the NBA's goal this entire time. How do we do this in a safe way to mitigate those concerns? That's when you're talking about keeping it to one location. You're talking about the testing procedures that they're going to have on hand. The NBA, I got to believe the NBA's done their due diligence, and they wouldn't have came out with this plan if they didn't have a real way and a method to the madness. So players can have their concerns, but the NBA and the Players Association have come up with this agreement, and it is interesting that on one hand, me and Cody have been hammering the Major League Baseball for just not having their act together lately, and we've been complimenting the NBA for, like, the NBA is moving along. They're way ahead of the learning curve right now. But now we got this little sideshow here of 40 to 50 players saying, hey, well, hold up. I don't know about this. Chris Paul should be on the phone with these guys right now saying, hey, we got this agreement. I don't know where you were before this, but the time to voice all these concerns was then. So I don't know. I guess if you don't want to play, you don't want to play. That's fine. As far as some of the other things, family situations, you can't leave the Disney World Resort. I don't know. Some of this is just small potatoes to me. And I'm not going to discount anybody who's got, and obviously the NBA, it's a predominantly African American league, and so the concerns about social justice or injustice in this country, I'm not gonna spit on those concerns. Absolutely valid. But I will say this: these guys have chosen the profession of playing basketball. And the NBA has been shut down for 3 months now, including the past 2 weeks where you've had the death of George Floyd. You've had protests that have followed that. And I guess at this point, you got to choose, what do you want to do? Do you want to play basketball, or do you want to be an activist? Nothing wrong if you want to be an activist. But the NBA, which is your employer, has chosen to resume the season. Are you in or are you out? And there's nothing wrong with a player wanting to be out and go fight for his community. There's nothing wrong with that. But the NBA has chosen, hey, we're ready to go. We're ready to proceed with the season. So that's where we're at that. I'm not here to say that these concerns are illegitimate, but some of them seem like it's small potatoes as far as we got family situations. You can't leave the resort. But me personally, we've been confined to certain bubbles in our experience, and we made it out okay.
So I got a question for you, Jay. So if let's say it was one of the bigger guys, let's say Giannis, for example. If Giannis came out on record and said, he has a problem with this because of, COVID-19 or whatever, does the level of player change your mind, or that's how you feel about no matter who it is? You know what I'm saying? Because for me, it's all I do. The level of player matters to me. Like, if it's LeBron James, if it's Giannis, if it's a star saying it compared to a role player or someone that's not playing, it does matter to me. Does that matter to you?
I got you. And listen, from me sitting here in this seat where I'm in, it wouldn't be a concern to me. But I'm gonna if I'm in the NBA league office, if I'm Adam Silver, it would be an issue, because then you're looking at it from a profitability standpoint. Because the NBA is obviously a star-driven league, and if you take stars out of the equation, people are going to be less inclined to watch. Also, I will say about I really, and I don't know this for a fact, but I got to believe a lot of these guys in this specific group that are hesitant to play, some of them, or a lot of them, could be from these fringe playoff contending teams that aren't even in the picture right now. You're talking about your Washingtons, your Phoenix, your Sacramentos, the list goes on and on. And that goes back into the fact that we talked about last week. This whole 22 team plan, although we're very grateful that the NBA is coming back and sports in general is coming back, this is just too much. You got your health concerns. You'd be better served at cutting the number of teams down to as little as possible. Just bring your 16 teams in. You can still have 7 or 8 games to get everybody back in the swing of things before you hit the playoffs. And let's be honest. I mean, you could have your 8-9 play-in tournaments or whatever. It doesn't matter. The Lakers and the Bucks are smashing whichever team rolls on in there. I don't care if it's Zion or if it's John Morant. It doesn't matter. It's going to be a sweep, 5 games at best. And then, no, by the way, to one of your earlier points, you're talking about sports and how that can bring about healing, because it's definitely a two-sided argument. And I can see where a guy like Kyrie Irving is coming from, thinking that, you know what, we got all these big concerns in here that are way more important than sports. They absolutely are. But again, the flip side of that, which you illustrated so beautifully, is sports brings people together. You can't deny that. No matter, people go to these games, and it doesn't matter what color you are at these games. You're all in support of one cause. And I do think that the return of sports it's not going to solve all the problems, but it can be a vehicle in which it can bring about healing.
Yeah, so I mean, like I said, this is really interesting because it really looked last week like this was a done deal. Like the NBA had this all set; it was smooth sailing. They looked great; they were on top of everything, and all of a sudden, now it's like, oh, wait a minute. And we've already talked about some of the complexities in play here. It's a lot of people are trying to boil this down to just play or not, or LeBron's chasing a ring or whatever. But there's a lot to it, you know. So one of the things you already kind of hit on was some of the concerns the players have regarding health, and to that I would add in that although 3 months is the end goal if you were there the entire time, like more than half the teams will be gone by the end of the first round of the playoffs, right? Because you have your 8 teams that aren't going to get in the playoffs, and then you have half the teams going home after the first round, you know, or at least almost half, you know. So it's not going to be you're not going to be there the entire time unless your team is seriously competing for a title. So you know, you have that in the bubble, because a lot of people are saying, oh, well, this bubble just isn't even worthwhile if people can come and go as they please, but you're still centralizing the testing. You're still eliminating travel concerns. That right there is 2 huge hurdles, because if you're traveling over the place, you're way more likely to catch this than you are just milling around in one little area, you know, and you also, again, your testing is centralized. So I think one of the players, if they're going to gripe about the health concerns, I think they're going to have to come up with a very strong argument that the NBA kind of pulled a fast one on them, where they said, oh, yeah, we got this all figured out, don't worry. And then they said, oh, actually, we have no plan. Sorry, good luck. The social justice optics and all that, I think it's a little silly to frame the argument as, oh, if sports come back, then no one's going to care about the movements anymore, which it's not the case. I mean, there's not a finite amount of attention to give, like, from one to another. Like, I don't have to pull my attention away from this. I get them saying, well, the headlines will go back to who scored what points or whatever, and if we have sports, we're distracting from it. But the players, especially if they're all together, they're still going to have eyes on them. In fact, they'll have a lot more eyes on them than just being at a local protest. You're back on national television, and they can use that platform to continue to push the message. So I think the whole point of this movement this time is, hey, we're not going to let this just go by the wayside. This movement is not going away. We want to keep this momentum going. And the players can still do that from their platform of playing basketball. You don't have to give up your paychecks and your platform to still push the message. You can do both, in my opinion. So I think that Kyrie's like he's got a right idea that, hey, we don't want to forget about the bigger picture here, but at the same time, I don't see how these guys not playing basketball and staying home really helps the cause. You need that money, you need that attention, and you're not going to get that sitting in your house and tweeting about, hey, this thing sucks, let's change it. And finally, there's got to be a serious consideration, guys, for the future ramifications of not playing. So we have to remember the NBA and the NBA Players Association agreed. Okay, the problem with MLB right now is they're not agreeing. The MLB Players Association is not agreeing with the league. The NBA agreed almost unanimously. Okay, whether they like it or not, they've entered into a deal of, hey, this is coming back and we're going to do this, this, and this. Individual players can choose to sit out and they're not going to be punished, but they are not going to be paid as they would. But if enough of them sit out or this gets pulled, the plug gets pulled by the players, and this keeps up and the players do ultimately decide, or the NBA says, hey, we don't have enough players to make this work, that's going to breach the CBA. And if that happens, you're talking about serious changes down the road and well and beyond. The CBA is set to run till at least the 2022-2023 season. If a new one has to be negotiated right now during a pandemic, how much leverage do you think the players are going to have? Because they're the ones that backed out of this deal, because that's what's going to happen. I mean, the owners in the NBA, unless something drastically changes, they're going to go through with this. So you're the one that backed out on the deal, and it's hard to get representation right now with the pandemic and limited travel, and we're going to talk to them on Zoom and stuff. Like, you're going to see league revenue shift back to the owners. You're going to see less money on max deals. This is not going to be good for the players, and they're going to have a hard time having a lot of legs to stand on when it comes to another negotiation. And plus, we can all agree nobody wants to see that right now. That'd be terrible. You can also affect future TV deal revenue if these TV deals say, well, how do we know y'all are going to play? First sign of a sniffle, first protest, and you don't want to play anymore. I could see the TV deals using as leverage against the NBA. Charities, social programs, all that money the NBA dumps into these programs, especially the NBA being forward-thinking and being the forefront of social progress. You don't play, they don't make money. Guess what's the first thing that's going to get cut? NBA cares and all that stuff. Forget about it. So that's an incredible amount of lost dollars, and it's not even including the players' checks. So while the players do have some legitimate concerns, they need to stay on the NBA and they need to keep this up. They got to remember they made a deal here, and they might want to go ahead and suit up and play, because they're going to cut their nose off to spite their face to me, and it's not going to look good.
And with that said, and I really like how you put that, Cody. Listen, here's the deal. You just said it. That's how you know it's not the guys at the top. Because if that was the case, first of all, LeBron knows. He's smart enough to know. And I'm just speaking about LeBron. He knows that if they play games, it's going to be media somewhere. And he would get the platform to talk about the social injustice.
They'll be the only act in town
know
right
this.
now. No MLB, NFL still months away. They're the only act in town. Every eye would be on you across the world.
So, like you said, it makes no sense for the players to gripe. Also, most of these superstars are businessmen. They're their own contract. They're their own brand. They know if they, hey, we ain't playing. They understand what the future ramifications is to this. Like, why, why agree to something then bag out of it? That's the problem that the MLB is dealing with. They agreed to something, then they kind of like backpedaling on, one side or another. You don't want that, and that's a bad look for the players. Let me tell you something. You mess around, you turn that fan base against you because you out here flopping around, trying to use every excuse under the sun. That's not a good look. Jay said he said this all the time about the MLB right now. This is not a good look for the MLB, and it wouldn't be a good look for the NBA at this point. So,
well, the difference is the MLB players are voicing all their concerns on the table now. The NBA players basically stayed quiet, agreed to this, but then went, oh, well, wait a minute. What about X, Y, Z, blue, purple? Like, you can't do that after you agree, because now you're going back on your deal. The MLB players are fully aware, hey, we want this, we want this, we want this, and we're not backing down from it. So to me, that's the difference, is the MLB players haven't agreed to anything, whereas the NBA players did. So unless they can prove the NBA has then went back on their side of the deal and they're not providing adequate testing, or the bubble isn't what they said it was, like, you have to prove that the NBA hasn't held up their end of the deal before you can then back out of your end of the deal, So it's going to be interesting to see if they get this pulled off, because they don't. There could be a lot of serious consequences that go beyond just, this season. It could be well beyond that.